Well, hello everybody. Happy Friday. I
Happy
can't actually
Friday,
believe,
Happy New Year.
yeah, Hillis, I can't believe we almost in the middle of January already. This is insane.
My
Yeah,
goodness.
wow.
You know,
Anyway, everybody,
I
yeah.
can't believe it. I mean, I was just thinking 'cause I have appointments and things going on. I'm like, oh yeah, that's not for another few weeks. It's actually next week. And I'm like, okay.
Exactly, I know. It's just insane. Well, everybody, welcome to Solutions with Aquarius Rising Africa. And I'm so happy to have with me Hillis again. Hillis, how do I pronounce your surname? Pag.
It's Pew.
Pugh.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Hillis Pugh. And we've had you on before with Bryce not too long ago. And that way we were talking about the Dogon tribes and stuff like that, which of course I always love to discuss topics like this. And today we're going to be talking about the Hue-Man Soul. Hello, Carol. Hello, everybody. So welcome to our viewers as well. And on this happy Friday, so pop in and say hi. Let us know where you're from. Really good to see you all. Yay. So what's been happening in your life, Hillis, since the last time I saw you?
You know, a lot of upgrades, a lot of downloads, a lot of really understanding the turbulent energies that we're in and understanding how to not just navigate them, but understand that in this space of 4D, which we're in right now as a collective, majority of us are in anyway, and how to really understand how to let go, because in this space of fourth dimensional energy that a lot of us are experiencing right now there's this energy of grief, this energy of loss, this energy of confusion, this energy of misdirection. There's a lot of uh, misunderstandings in this space. And for those who don't know what fourth dimensional energy is, we know what 3D is, we know what 5D is. 4D is the bridge to get to 5D. And in
Yeah.
order to get to 5D, you have to go through 4D, unload all the stuff that no longer serves you, and then move into the space of unconditional love. Because you can't have all the baggage in unconditional love. I hope that makes sense.
Absolutely. It really is, and it's so true because I think so many people are and have been experiencing that recently. I was actually just doing a show with Catherine Edwards early on, and we were talking about something very similar, actually.
Mhm.
And I was just saying, for myself as well, like this morning in particular, I woke up and my heart was heavy. And although it was, it's a cold, overcast day. The mist is thick here. I live in a coastal town. I just knew I had to get up and get my ass to the beach and get myself into that ocean. And I did. It was probably
Mhm.
the best thing I did. The waves were really choppy. And it was so symbolic to me of just the times we were going through. And I really had a long walk on the beach. And I must say, I came back and I felt so much better. But also, I think, on Aquarius Rising Africa, dealing with a lot of the pedophilia, dealing with a lot of people that have been coming out of overcomers, etc., coming out of satanic ritual abuse. For me, that is a heavy one, and a lot of people are starting to talk. They're starting to share their stories. There's just a lot that's going on with a lot of people at the moment, and it's so true what you're saying, and I couldn't have found better words to speak about the 4D energy as that bridge, because 3D, of course, as we know, is the free will and choice, where we get to choose how we want to react, which direction we want to go, whether it's conscious or unconscious. A lot of us say, well, we don't have a choice. We actually do have a choice. We've
Yeah.
always had a choice. Every moment of every day we have a choice. But it's really, in order to cross that bridge, we have to make decisions. And some of those decisions are not easy decisions to make. Letting things go, letting people go, letting situations go. For many of us, it's taking a new direction, right? Would you agree with what I'm saying on that?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Because people who are in my generation and older, find it a bit more challenging to let go of what no longer serves them because we're in this space of comfort. It's like, oh yeah, this is easy, it's comfortable, but I don't want to be dealing with all the craziness. I don't want to deal with that, but I don't want to let it go either. And so it's at that crossroads, if you will. It's like, do I want to feel better and feel good about my life? Go this way. Do I want to stay comfortable and be miserable? Go this way. And so it's really finding the what is best suited for you. And granted, we can go down one path, but it's never too late to come back and make that right choice for yourself. And when I say right choice, I mean the right choice of what makes you feel good.
Right. Isn't that so true? It's really about feeling good because our emotions are the fuel for everything else. Our
Yeah.
emotions are the
Yeah.
fuel for whatever road we're taking. I mean, if we're going to be in that crappy, miserable space all the time, it really does drag us down into those lower rung energies, right? But when we
Yeah.
decide today, like, I mean, for me, today was such a typical day of that. When we decide today that I'm not choosing to be miserable, I'm choosing to get up, I'm choosing to do what I need to do, and I know what my soul is going to be in agreement with, right? Instead of staying stuck in a place where I always call it that hamster's wheel. It's very easy for us to be sitting in that hamster's wheel, feel like we're just running and running, but we're actually getting nowhere. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just easy for us because we are in that space of I'm comfortable, I think I'm safe, and we are in our mental space rather than our emotional space when we make some of these decisions that have created the life that we have lived so far. And so when we are in that space of comfort, we do what feels natural, and if we're in the space of sadness or grief, we find ourselves reaching out for things of comfort for us to make us feel better, for us to say, okay, right now it's okay, but we strive for better, we want for better, but yet we're still stuck. And so we have to now begin to transition and transcend into actually putting our feelings into actions to feeling
Right.
better.
It's so true. How would you say would be at this stage? I'd love to hear from you. How would you say would be a good way to do that, to sort of make that the right decisions for yourself? Um, Tricky one.
Being of one of a healer, being a teacher, being a master, being a student, being all these things, there's always so much going on in the mental space. And for one to really make that decision, so this is a bit close to my heart because I'm also in this space of a greater transition. We have to allow our heart to speak. We have to allow our heart to sing to us because yes, we are going through, mental stress, emotional stress, discomfort, whatever you want to label this energy as, is the space of feeling uncomfortable. And in
Yeah.
this space of discomfort, we have to find the source, the root cause of this discomfort. And typically we look externally first, saying, is it my family? Is it my friends? Is it my relationship? Is it my job? What is the source of my discomfort? And then when we uh, mislabel or pseudo label this space of discomfort, we look at it and examine it a little bit closer and say, well, wait a minute, is it me or is it that? Is it me? Is it? And then ultimately, when we come to the realization, well, it is me. What do I do? What do I do? We then have to seek the proper guidance of self or from someone else, such as myself or a professional or some other professional to say, hey, you have to make this choice. And then having the courage and trust in self to make that choice. And when we make that choice, we have to be all in, because if we're not all in, there's going to be these moments of regrets and woe is me moments, if you will. And so we have to allow for the energy of love to come in to support us in the choices that we make.
That's so true, because, and it's so true what you say, it's that courage. And Carol, I love what you're saying, for you, it's fasting, and I agree.
Yeah, I love that.
For me, fasting is a great way to initiate and instigate change, and I love, because I enjoy fasting. I enjoy not eating. So for me to do a 3-day or a 5-day water fast is really easy. I always say, well, I wouldn't say it's really easy, but it's not nearly as uncomfortable, I know, as what it might be for other people. But what I've recently started doing is 1 day a week doing a dry fast. So it's where
Oh
you
yeah,
don't
that's
have food or water. Wow, that has certainly upped the ante for me, and certainly has definitely brought in the results. Because, when we look at fasting as well, and I love to use this example of, I don't know if Lawrence van der Post. He was a late South African author, and he actually spent many years living with a Bushman, who we know are the First Nation people. I mean, they have the oldest DNA on the planet. So the Bushmen will talk about the little hunger and the great hunger. And the little hunger is the hunger that feeds the belly. So it feeds your immediate needs, right? It's that, and very often, I mean, and anyone who's been a faster will know that we will often use food to cover our emotions, right? And I'm not talking about, obviously, we all need a certain amount of food, and we all need to eat to sustain ourselves, for sure. But I have certainly been one of those that, if it's times are difficult or something, I might just reach for that candy bar, or get up, from my computer and go and make a snack, or whatever the case might be. And I've discovered that about myself through fasting, right? But then, so we have that little hunger, and then we have the great hunger. Now, the great hunger is the real true hunger. And that is the hunger for purpose. That is the hunger for meaning in your life. And that is why I love fasting, and especially the dry fast, because it's like really getting down in those moments when you just want that food, you just want that water, you just want whatever it is, just to be that quick fix for whatever that need in you is at that moment. But through that time, then to go into prayer or into meditation and reach for the greater sense of purpose. And that is truly what fasting brings you. It gives you that greater sense of purpose, that greater meaning to life, that greater meaning for life. And I think that is really what it is. And I mean, it's just such a beautiful thing. And every time I go into that moment of, I just can't do this anymore, right? It's really, that's the time I'll down everything. I'll go and sit outside on the grass for half an hour. I just close my eyes and I'll meditate. And that for me brings me in whatever that need and that desire is. And it really is something so purposeful. And, it's such a our addictions are seriously something. Whether it's smoking or drinking, we always talk about the addictions being the gateway drugs being marijuana. We hear that a lot, but it's not. It's cigarettes and alcohol, because it's so easily available to us. So when we start looking at what our addictions are, because fasting will show you what your addictions are. Might be sugar, might be caffeine. It might be playing on social media. And for many of us, that's become an addiction, right? So if we can just break through the things that we've numbed ourselves down with, then we start seeing, we go into the uncut version of ourselves, the original version of who we came here as and who we came here to be. And I think these times are so difficult for many of us, right, Hillis? And I think
Yeah.
when we can just break through those fears and those numbing upness or numbing downness, whichever way you look at it, right? Life
Yeah.
becomes a lot more purposeful and then a lot more sweet, right? Then we start receiving the sweetness of life as
Yeah.
opposed to the mundane. I don't know what you say, what you have to say about that.
I like that, and the fact that you really brought that up. And one of the things that's coming to my mind is, when I fast, which isn't often, but when I do it, I make it purposeful. And sometimes when I fast, because of plant medicine or a journey that I'm preparing for, things like that. And it's interesting because when you are in that space, and this is how one of the cliches I can truly attest to, saying that you become what you eat. You are what you eat. And because of how the medicine begins to take over and how you feel the consciousness of what it is
Right,
that you ingest, whether if it's, plant medicine or food or whatever it is, you allow yourself to become that. And so when we begin to ingest things on a regular basis, we don't feel the consciousness or energy of that because we have so much of it that the way we act, the way we walk, the way we talk, our mannerisms, our behaviors are already default to that energy. So when we step into this energy of fasting, one, why are we doing it? Or not me personally, but speaking to everyone else, why do you do it? And is it to reset? Is it to cleanse the body? Is it to give your digestive system a break? Whatever it is, when you step into that space, it has to be done with purpose, and to allow yourself to reset yourself, to connect to your soul, and to be that, as you talked about, your original blueprint, what you already are.
exactly. The
Yeah.
uncut version. One of my friends One of my friends mentioned that to me yesterday. In fact, she says, "Yeah, we're just becoming the uncut versions of ourselves." And I went, "Absolutely. I love that. I'm coining that from now onwards to become the uncut version." Really the little, when we came in as kids, before our mind, because even though you're born a fetus, a little baby, your spirit or your soul certainly ain't no fetus, right? We've
No.
we've 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 made an agreement and a choice prior to being born to be in this life with our parents, with our families, etc. And our families are often the hardest ones that we have to deal with, that's for sure. But it
Yeah.
really is going back to that original version of who you were intending to be. And,
Yeah.
often in our situations, we are corrupted in many ways. As a child, it's very easy to become corrupted by your surroundings, depending on how toxic it's been or not,
Oh
right?
yeah.
We
I mean,
forget.
we deal with a lot of it as kids because that's part of the work that I do is, not just inner child work, but also the trauma that we receive from, the time that we are in the womb of our mothers. Everything that she does, we take on, we feel, we interpret in our DNA and our cells as we are developing in some form of way. And so when we are born physically into the environment, some of that is just reinforced and piled on to create the container or the substructure of how we express ourselves in this space and how we interact with our environment.
Right. Exactly. And I think it's such it's so true that it's so true, and it's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity to go back and as you say, reset and figure out what it is that who we are,
Yeah.
what we are here to do. Yeah, I think that's an amazing opportunity. I mean, I see everything as an opportunity in life.
Yeah.
You know, some see the devil in everything. I see God in everything. You know, I
Yeah.
really do. I see the opportunity. The more challenging an opportunity is, the more shaken you are. That really is a time for change. Change is not an easy thing, and right now we're being forced to change in many ways. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's great that you bring this up because as we are in this space of evolution, one of the things that I was given, one of the things that I was told that it's going to take some time to get here, but we are in the space of transitioning into the Hue-Man Soul, which is Hue-Man. And it's much different from what we perceive it to be. And right now, I'm just getting a little bit emotional. I get emotional every time I talk about this because it is so new, so dear, so close to my heart. Is that first, as the human soul, we have to understand the full spectrum of humanity and beyond race, beyond gender, beyond religion, beyond politics, beyond it all. We are all the same underneath. We all
Yes.
are one source. We are all one God. We are all one in this space. But in this full spectrum of humanity, there are these varying experiences. And these experiences is what makes us human, is creating this new space of collective consciousness, this well of ideas, this well of knowledge, this well of camaraderie and space of unconditional love. And that's where everything begins. Because once you allow the heart space to be open, and once it's healed, once it is nurtured and nourished from past traumas, pains, etc., we can then begin to fully embrace not only just our soul, but the source energy, God itself, or whatever you wish to call source energy. And sitting here in this interaction is interacting with myself because, I'm God, you're God, and we're all interacting with each other in some sort of way with sharing our experiences. And that's what the beginning of this full spectrum is. And once we move beyond that, we then can come into alignment with our soul energy, our higher self. Because right now, most of us are fragmented. A good portion of humanity is still fragmented. And that's because we're leaving imprints here, breadcrumbs over there, you know, and playing this blame game. That all needs to end.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
once we take ownership and responsibility of self and actions and words and all that comes with that, we then can fully embrace what it is to understand the full spectrum of humanity, the human that is us, as we embrace the not only the physicalness, but the energetic representation of what that is.
Absolutely. And I think, the first thing for me is to realize that we are created by God in the image of God. And or source, whatever people choose to call it, right? Um, so when we get that, it's like, I'll never forget many years ago, I said to God, because I've never had a problem with God. A lot of people have had an issue with God as in a religious sense or anything like that. I've never had that. For me, God has always been, even as a little kid, I would imagine God as the sun and me sitting in God's lap and the rays wrapped around me, and just giving me the biggest hug. Um, Godly hug I ever can imagine, right? So for me, that's how I always had the picture of God. And a number of years ago, when I was I wasn't starting to teach, but when I was teaching my work, I said, and there was a particular large amount of people that said, "Who is God? What is God? How can God allow this to happen? Blah, 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 blah. And I said to God, who are you? How do I explain who you are when people ask me that. And in that moment, I had this amazing picture of just this explosion of the sun, like just the sun exploding into consciousness, if you will, and the rays just radiating out from the sun. And
Yes.
God's voice said to me, I am the sun and you are the rays. Each one of you is a ray of my light. You are all
Mhm.
created from the same centrifugal force, expressed uniquely and individually. And
Yes.
that for me made such perfect sense, because that is really how I see God, as the sun. I'm not saying it's the sun up there and whatever. I'm just understand it's a
Exactly.
concept of.
Yes.
So it really is understanding this amazing essence of infinite love and infinite possibility. And so it's like, I am that ray, you are that ray. Each and every one of us is a ray of God's light,
Yeah.
expressed uniquely and individually. So we all have the same potential, right? We all have the same opportunities. And so God says, and go, my children, experience yourselves and come back to me and tell me what you've learned, for that is how I grow. To
Yes.
me, it was just the most beautiful thing. So, yes, we have the spirit, right? That is me. That ray is me, right? And my soul is an aspect of that spirit. The soul is the bit of me that comes down in my human form. So, every life I live, I expand. I have the opportunity to screw things up. I have the opportunity to create amazing things. I have it's just such a beautiful feeling knowing that no matter how many times I screw up, no matter how many times I fall down, I always have the opportunity, to be reborn again every single day, every single moment.
Yeah.
And the more we live and the more we get to understand these things, I think, Hillis, for me, has been an amazing journey and an amazing experience. And the more I look at you and I go, well, you are God's light too. And there'll be some days I look at someone, I'll go, there's no ways you come from God's light. Right? But at the end of the day, let's look at the sun. The dark side of the sun, so to speak, would be hell, where it's all fire and brimstone and totally destructive,
Yeah.
right? So we have the ability to create and we have the ability to destroy. And I
Yeah.
think that at the end of the day is what it's about. So how do we choose? Do we choose to create? Do we choose to destroy? And really, at the end of the day, we're this beautiful combination of destruction and creation. And until such time we realize everything we've destroyed can never really be destroyed.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is what you're talking about, it the way I understand it, when we're looking at bringing back the fragments of who you are.
Yeah.
Because those bits of ourselves that we've gone and imploded or exploded, or probably both, will never be destroyed. They will
No,
always be there. And we always have the ability to transform it, transmute and transform it. Yeah.
exactly. When we are in this space of really understanding who the soul is, what the soul is, who am I? And this is a question that I often ask myself that has an ever evolving answers. Who am I? And as we understand the human, the soul that is, it is beyond what alien race you identify with, Pleiadian, Syrian, Lyran. It's beyond all of that. When you be the race that you identify with, terrestrial or extraterrestrial, is just the experience that you have chosen to have in this moment. And this moment meaning this life, this extended moment. But once you identify the energy that is you, identify the soul that is you, and how many representations you have been expressed as, that, I lived on earth 7 times. I lived on this planet 10 times. I lived over there. So it's beyond all of that. And when
Irrelevant.
you begin to recognize yourself as a soul, and then you begin to recognize other people's soul signature, their energies, you then can move forward and really truly step into the space of empathy, into the space of knowing, into the space of unconditional love. It's like, and when people say, I see you, do they mean they see your soul? Do they mean your heart? What do they exactly see when they say, I see you? And in this space, it often means, I see your soul, I see your heart. But when we even move past that, beyond, I see your soul, you then can move to the point of saying, I see God in you, and I see God in me, which is the
Exactly.
full spectrum, coming back to circle, coming back to center of our true existence, of the great exploration that has been manifested to grow, to expand the source that really is, which is us.
Absolutely. I've often mentioned this on the shows. There's a beautiful quote from Rumi, and of course, everyone who knows me knows Rumi's my guy. He's definitely my favorite. And there's a beautiful saying that he has. He says, I searched for God and I found only myself. I searched for myself and I found only God. And
Yeah.
really, at the end of the day, that is what it is.
Yeah.
God lives within us. You are that ray of light that is unique to you, that that adores you and only you. Your body is the manifestation of your spirit. It is your spirit in physical form. So whatever experiences you are having here on earth,
Mhm.
that is experiences your soul and your spirit need to gain from, need to learn from. So at the end of the day, there's never something that's happened that's useless. Everything that happens has a purpose. Your harshest lessons are taught to you by your strongest soulmates and your guides. At the end of the day, when we are able to recognize that, then we're able to understand the meaning of life. We're
Yeah.
able to look into someone else's eyes and see the mirror. No matter how challenged we are, the very thing I'm not liking in you is what I need to heal inside of me. So
Yeah.
if you're constantly being betrayed by people or lied to or cheated on, really the underlying issue there would be deception. So the question I would then say is, where have I deceived me? Where have I lied to me? Where have I felt that life has not given me, or where
Yeah.
have I felt that I have thought that life has not given me what it promised? Where have I not embraced the fullness of life?
Yeah.
And not in a harsh way, because the minute we start beating up on ourselves, that's when we start beating up on others as well. At the end of the day, you're always going to give to others what you give to yourself. You're always going to be to others what you've been to yourself. And, it really is that. So I think at the end of the day, when we're looking at these things and we're understanding we are all created from God, we are all created in the image of God, we are all beautiful reflections of God, and there are so many different reflections of God. And when we start seeing that in each other, that's when things start changing a lot. Sorry, I want to just.
Exactly. I agree with that 100%. And when we allow ourselves to step out of the energy of the blame game and step out of the
Yeah.
energy of victimization, we then can begin to see the complete picture of self, begin to allow ourselves to see who are the teachers in our lives. The people that we were blaming, the people we are playing victimhood from, they were actually teachers in our lives, teaching us how
Always.
to grow, teaching us how to be stronger, teaching us things that we wouldn't have learned otherwise. And when we come into the space of acceptance of these teachings, you know, we can move into greater acceptance. But I will say that there are some experiences that people have had to where they may not have an explanation, or they were not chosen to experience. They could have been accidental, or things, were so great that they were beyond their control and they actually could have been a victim. So there are some exceptions to this rule. But when you see the strength and resolve that you have from deep traumatic spaces, you then can begin to look at yourself like, there's a space of strength that I would not have carried, or there's a space of forgiveness I would not have been able to express. And so when we feel these things, it falls under the umbrella of the spectrum of humanity, the spectrum of experiences, because we would not be who we are if we did not have these experiences, these contrasts in life.
Right.
Because as you mentioned earlier, there's the space of destruction and creation, which happens first. I mean, they're in this constant cycle, and that's what we're in now. We're in this right now, simultaneously. There's never happened on the planet before, but we are in this space of simultaneous destruction and construction. And
Yes.
so, as soon as something is torn down, something is, a foundation is being laid in its place. So everyone who's watching, ask yourselves, who am I now? And what am I building to support myself? What is my foundation of support right now? And just, allow yourself to receive that answer when it's time and perfect for you. But when you receive that answer, allow your soul to receive it, allow your heart to receive it, allow the energy just to sit with you. And if you're guided to take action or not, just listen and be present with that.
It's so true. Just sit and be present with yourself, and you will be guided. You will get that inspiration. God speaks to
Mm,
us from the quiet voice within. God doesn't speak to us from a booming loudspeaker in the sky. And the more we choose to listen with our inner ears, when I work with the kids, I always talk about your inner ears or your inner eyes, right? So when the more we choose to listen with our inner ears, we start hearing the voice of God. And that's our intuition, that's our inspiration. That's that aha moment or that eureka moment that it feels like the lights just suddenly go on and you just know what to do next. And when you're sitting in that place with God, you will never hear a wrong word. You've just got to get out of your own way, really. And you've got to be
yeah,
open and receptive to
yeah,
hearing what it is.
yeah. And as you say that, it's interesting because I've never had, well, I shouldn't say never. This happens seldomly, and I'm a poet by nature. I'm a wordsmith. I love words and understanding the origins and the meanings of them. And as you said the word inspiration, and how you said it sparked something in me. And I'm asking, what is the meaning of this word? What is the meaning of inspiration? And what is coming to me is inspiration. In meaning inner, yourself, your
Mhm.
soul, and your connection to your higher self, to the God
Yeah,
source energy. And the ration is the portion of light, the portion of the sun's light, or the portion of God's light that is coming
yeah,
to you. And so we
exactly.
are fractal energy of this space that we're living in. We're fractal spaces of God, source, creator, universal energy. And as we move into the space of fractal energy, we allow ourselves to then become whole. Because if anyone knows anything about geometry or fractals, that they are uniquely the same. They pattern one another. They pattern after each other, from the macro to the micro and back and forth. And so there's no true measurement of this energy. It's just
Yeah,
the
you
energy
can't
that is
measure
the
it.
representation of who you are. So yeah,
It's so
fractals of,
true.
of source.
Exactly. That's so true. When we look at, often people feel they need to be motivated, right?
Yeah.
So they get motivated by someone else's maybe a motivational speaker or someone, a book they've read or a quote they've heard or something like that. So that might motivate you for 2 or 3 days to move in a direction. But soon, if it's, it's like you've been given a kick up the bum and, it's going to kick you that far, but it's not going to carry you beyond a certain point, right?
Exactly.
Inspiration is that, as you say, that match that gets struck within you, the light, the Agni. In yoga, we call it the Agni, the fire within you, the word of God, where your spirit wakes up, your spirit sparks up. It's the voice of God within you. And you go, yes, that's what I need. And it's like, then you automatically get up, you know where to go, you know how to do it. Suddenly the right people appear. Suddenly the door opens up. Suddenly something you've been hankering after disappears because suddenly something else much greater appears. It's that moment of truth. That, for me, is what our inspiration is. And that's the momentum that carries us forward in the way that we need to. So that's us walking. That's us putting one step ahead of the other. And that's us getting on your bicycle or your car or learning how to fly your airplane or whatever it is, right? Where you actually now moving yourself forward. You're letting your crutches go. You're letting your codependencies go. You're not needing something or someone to make it right or better for you. You then connect with people around you who've understood that as well. We're all on, swimming in the same pool now, but we aren't trying to hold on to each other and drown each other at the same time. We can all do the breaststroke or the backstroke or the crawl or whatever it is, right? So we can all swim now, right? And we can all swim together. And yes, there are going to be times where we need to help each other along. And that's how it is. And we'll always do that. That's the most beautiful thing about the Hue-Man Soul, is that we have, when somebody's in trouble or something's in trouble, we will gather around, man, and we will help those people or that person or that situation. We have wonderful compassion. We have wonderful energy. We have wonderful wisdom. We have wonderful kindness. We have these things. And the more of us who gather around and who are, when we're being compassionate, bringing all that compassion together is just a beautiful thing. And of course it multiplies then. The more of us who come together with those energies multiply, and we have this wonderful way of uplifting each other and creating a better world for everyone in which to live. And really, I think that's fundamentally where we're going, and that's where we're aiming to go. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. We have to get there first. And so right now, like you just said, everything is 100%. I agree with that. We have to allow ourselves to get to that space, and to get there is a little uncomfortable, a little. Some people say might be painful, but definitely uncomfortable. And for us to really get there, there's going to be a lot of uncovering of the heart space, a lot of really, some people might say, doing the shadow work and really understanding what all that means and what all of this, humanity and all this unconditional love and all this victimization and all this blaming, what does all this contrast mean in my life? And so I'm here to say to you that as we allow ourselves to honor self first, as we are true to self first, we then can begin to create the space within ourselves to allow for what we desire of our heart to truly come. And that is having that courage, having that confidence to take those leaps of faith, in life when it is necessary for us to do so. And, some of us, it may take a little time to muster up that courage, that confidence to do so. But once you do so, you won't look back. I mean, there are things in my life that I thought I could never do. And once I did, I'm like, oh, that wasn't so bad.
Exactly.
You know,
You're
and you
able to
feel better
right?
afterward. Yeah, exactly.
For sure. Makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Wow. And I really think that's an amazing thing is, we are capable of so much more than what we usually give ourselves credit for. And it's
Yeah.
often at those times where it's darkest before the dawn, right? It's often those times where we really feel we have nothing left to give or we don't have anything more. And then suddenly we have that beautiful spark of life. And then we're able to move forward and make those decisions for ourselves.
Yeah.
Beautiful place to be in, a beautiful time to be alive, Hillis. And thank you so much for being here with me today and for everyone else who's joined the conversations as well. Nice to see our usuals here as well. Carol, Aaliyah, Katinkabel. Good morning, guys. Just jumping in live. A special hi to Hillis from Alejandra. Yeah, and Michelle, Jessica, Simona, Amy, Lisa. Yeah, nice to see you guys, and thank you so much for joining us today. So, Hillis, just in closing, is there anything you would maybe just like to add before we end off today's beautiful conversation?
Just remember that you are not alone on your journey, that there are others before and after that have experienced what you have. And know that on the other side of the choices that you make, there is love and support for you. Just allow yourself to be open to receive that which is already yours and allow for that beauty of that love to be expressed unconditionally.
Exactly.
Mm.
And the person who deserves it most is you. As the Buddha says, no one deserves your love and compassion more than you yourself. So give yourself the love and compassion first, and then you'll see how that automatically flows out to those around you. Yay. Thank you
Yay.
so much, Hillis. It's a pleasure having you here with me again. And we'll do this
Thank
again in future. Take care, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here on Solutions with Aquarius Rising Africa. Beautiful weekend ahead for all of you. We'll be on with Caleb again tomorrow as well as Saturday. As well as Sunday. So take care. God bless you all.